Yo, how's it going, everybody? It's Macklin Gaming, and we are about halfway through the year 2025, which is already insane to think about. But we thought this year would be jam-packed with amazing games, especially GTA 6. But now we find out that game's not coming out this year, and there have been great games still this year, but it doesn't feel like there's going to be a clear-cut game of the year. At least that's what we thought until April came around, and this little team that broke off from Ubisoft ended up creating their own RPG, and somehow I think Microsoft was funding it because it showed up first at their developer direct, and that is Clair Obscur Expedition 33. This JRPG-like game, you know, it's an RPG that's turn-based combat, not like 3D action, but if you haven't heard of this game, everybody is talking about Clair Obscur Expedition 33 as being the game of the year so far, which is incredible. Like, right off the bat, let's talk about how much of a W it is for the industry to have a small game, like team of 30 developers maybe, not like a $500 million budget on this game, small budget, you know, only took 5 years. That's still a long time. It didn't take 8 years to make, you know, and it comes out and everybody loves it. It is, everyone's saying it's game of the year. So I had to play it and I had to beat it, roll the credits to give you guys my full opinion. I made a first impressions video on it, but today we're gonna go all in. So with that out of the way, let's talk about my review for Clair Obscur Expedition 33. All right, I had to pick up the physical edition from PS5, and what do we got inside? Nothing but the disc. Let's move on. So like I said, this game is made by a team of developers that broke off of Ubisoft. They either got fired or laid off, or they just left so they can create a passion project game for themselves and not work on like Assassin's Creed or Rainbow Six Siege. So what is Clair Obscur Expedition 33 about? Well, it's set in this fantasy French-inspired setting and world where for the last 67 years there's been this goddess lady who has been writing a huge number in the sky. Remember, this is very fantasy, right? And whatever number it is, everyone that age and older dies. Like, I don't know how they come up with this stuff, but that is the premise of the game as you start out. So the number, as you would expect, is 33. That's what's written by this goddess, this giant lady. You know, she writes it on top of this mountain in the sky. And then it's like, oh, all the main characters' loved ones who are like 33 and older just vanish and disappear and they die. So this team of the main characters that you play as, Gustav, you know, Maël, there's Lune, and there's a few more. I won't get into who they are. You'll meet them down the road. But these characters have to go out on an expedition to reach the paintress and stop her from, you know, writing a new number every year and killing off all their loved ones. So that is the main story of the game. So who are these characters in the expedition that you get to play as? There's Gustav, Maël, Lune, and then pretty early on in the game you get Chiel. That is like your core 4 members, and then you start getting a few more members and you have to swap them out. Now the best part about these different characters is each one of them controls completely different in combat. It's not like you have your typical fantasy tropes of like, there's a warrior, there's an archer, and a mage. It's just each character is completely unique in their battle system. You know, each one has completely different skills, and you could say Lune is like the mage. She does mostly magic. And Maël has her little like fencing sword. So she's like very agile and finesse with her sword, but she can pack a punch too. So Maël is a very great character. She's like one of the main characters, Gustav being the other. And then, you know, you start to really bond with all of them. But the best part about these characters is that they are so unique in combat. Then you end up kind of having favorites, like which ones do you like to battle with the most? I always preferred using Maël with Lune because Lune could like burn enemies, and then Maël, if an enemy is burning while she attacks, she can switch into her most powerful stance. There's like a skill for that. And there's so many cool ways you can like co-op and feed off of each other's attacks to like enhance the next character's attacks, like I said. So that part of the game is so cool. Like, the combat is just S tier in this game. I talked about it in my first impressions video that I already made, so I don't want to talk too much more in depth about it in this video, but I do want to talk about the Pictos and the Luminas, right? I already explained in my other video how the turn-based combat, you have to dodge and you have to parry and you have to get this timing down on each enemy, and each enemy has, you know, different attack timing moves and like different rhythm to them. So you got to time all that stuff. It's super fun. But then let's talk about these things that now I've played through the game, I understand a lot better, which is the Pictos and the Luminas. So you have little perks, right, that you can slot into your characters. And then the Luminas, once you battle with these perks slotted in, if you battle 4 battles, you can then permanently learn it as a Lumina for every character. So only one character has to equip this Picto, battle 4 times, and then anyone can equip it in a separate menu system. That's the hard part, is like the Pictos and the Luminas have the same names, they're the same perks, but they're completely separate mechanics. But once you get it, it's really awesome. Like, I love trying to make different builds with these Pictos and Luminas and trying to get certain characters, you know, oh, this character can base attack, does defenseless. So then that character is going to do a lot of base attacking first to buff them up to do better skills later on. And so even besides the Pictos and the Luminas, there's a separate skill tree where you learn like actual active combat skills. So there's so much to do in the combat and the menu systems. Like, you're never going to be bored in this game, you know, which is not like a 100-hour game. It's like a 30-40 hour game. So really, you're busy trying to upgrade your Luminas and Pictos right to the last second, you know? So almost as good as the archetype tree from Metaphor, but not quite. But the narrative is really like the feature of this game besides the combat. I think they spent a lot of time and a lot of effort on a really good story, and it's a captivating story. Really, at the end, it kind of goes off the walls for me. I really enjoyed the story, but man, by the end, it really got crazy. It almost got too crazy, like the end of Lost or something. People are not who they seem to be, and it's like, who is this person? And you start losing track of the whole thing. But right at the beginning, they grip you with that, you know, hook of the storyline of the number 33 and people vanishing and they have to be saved, right? So the expedition team goes out and ventures through this world to save everybody. And while you're venturing around, what is it like? Well, there's an overworld where the camera pulls out back from a third-person view to like a isometric, you know, you can still move the camera, but it's almost like a bird's eye view of like an overworld, like you're playing like an old retro RPG, but you still have your 3D modern graphics, right? Your UE5 graphics in this game. And it's a really cool design. There's a bit of like depth of field blur. So the overworld exploration is really cool. They have a nice artistic touch on the like visuals for the overworld. So we talked about the story and the combat, and I, for most part, liked everything about them. You know, the story gets a little crazy for me. You know, I couldn't wrap my mind around the end of it, but that doesn't mean I hated it. So what are the things about this game that I don't like? Well, I found myself doing this throughout the whole game, no matter what region I was in, is I would be progressing through the game and I think I'm getting farther towards the boss, and then I realize I'm going backwards, like the way I came already. So for me, like a lot of the way this game in the level design is laid out, it was really confusing for me. It all looks the same, whether you're facing forwards or you're facing back the way you came, it all looks like, all right, yeah, this is the way to go. It's like, wait, no, I've been here. I did that so many times in this game. It was weird. And that doesn't happen to me in other games really, you know? So that was a strange thing. I don't know. They could have made some sort of guidance, like Ghost of Tsushima, you know, those flags that you get as rest points, they should be like waving in the direction that you have to go or something. I don't know. Are they? I didn't even realize that. I just thought of that right now. I don't think they are. But like, I found myself backtracking on accident so many times. It was weird. But that is kind of the only like negative I can say about this game. This game is a gem. And I haven't even talked about the music, which I love, you know. It's not my favorite soundtrack of all time. It's got a lot of the French folk influence in there, which is cool. But really, it's the other tracks during the battle music that are like electronic that I really like, because there's so much variety in this soundtrack. It's not all like French accordions. You know, it is for a lot of it, but then there's a lot of other cool modern sounding soundtrack in this. And then there's even a piano piece that sounds exactly like Final Fantasy X's to Xanarkin. So you know they're you know, they just change the melody slightly. You know they're tributing Final Fantasy X in this game, and you can see it all over the game. The visuals, the way you play the game, and the soundtrack to top it off. So definitely, if you're a Final Fantasy fan, you have to play this game. Do I feel like it is the game of the year right now? Yes, I do. Because we're only halfway through, and you know, the other games, the other RPGs I played, they're great, but like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, you know, Monster Hunter Wilds is pretty good, but this game is just like, it's art, you know, in video game form, and that's what you love to see. It's the story, the combat, you know, the characters. It's the full package here. It is so well made and tight. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's a great middle length for a RPG game to play. It's not too long. It's also not too short. People are like, oh, it's short. No, it's not. You think it's going to end at one point, and then it goes on even longer. So it is really a joy to play. For $50, this could change the video game industry, because people are moving up to $70 and $80 games, and we got a team here moving down to $50. And you're seeing some other games come out at cheaper prices as well. So I hope that trend continues here with Expedition 33. And I hope Sandfall Interactive makes a sequel, or, you know, another game in this universe. There's so much they could do, and it's really an interesting world that they've created here. So how do you guys feel about the game? I'm giving it like a 9.5 out of 10. It is almost a masterpiece as their first game out of the gate, you know? So I didn't want to give him a 10 out of 10, be like, it's flawless. Some people are like, this is game of the generation. I don't know yet. We'll see. You know, I still think Elden Ring's the best game of the last 5 years, the 2020s, right? But this is a beautiful game. I love to see that it exists in this way. It's everything against the, you know, corporate mainstream video game industry slop that we're getting. This is just a beautiful game that should be celebrated for that. So what do you guys think about Expedition 33? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.